A Missouri woman went on Facebook to call out the man that she says beat her.
He's strong enough that he can hurt me with his hands, and he had to hit me in the head with a bat. It made me realize, like, what I was doing to myself. And I mean, I have a 4-year-old son, and he could have hit me harder, and he could have killed me. I'm actually glad that I have, people that are writing me and telling me they care. It actually makes me feel good, because being with him, I didn't get to have any friends.
Here's a picture that 23-year-old Amber Taylor posted. You see her right there lying with a neck brace in a hospital bed, cords all around her chest, and she told everyone this man abused her. That's Taylor's boyfriend, Austin McCauley. He's charged with the domestic assault. He's pleaded not guilty. I want to bring in Tanya Young Williams. She is the spokeswoman for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Tanya, good to talk to you, and I just want to get your initial reaction to this story and this posting on Facebook.
My initial reaction is that I applaud the young lady for doing what is necessary, which is seeking help. Domestic violence is about power and control. The abuser wants that. And when she put him on full blast, she essentially took away his power and control. And, the social media platform, it's a perfect medium for which young people especially can communicate with a targeted group of people, whether it's their own friends or someone else's friends. And in her mind, she wanted his friends to know, he's not what you think. He is hurting me, and I'm not going to take it anymore. So I applaud her courage, and I think her efforts are really going to help other young people and older victims say, guess what? I need help. I'm not going to be afraid to speak out.
I just want to ask you this one question, because I think when people see this kind of thing, and I have to admit, when I saw this, I said, wow, she's really stepping up to expose what happened here. At the same time, something happens to him. I don't want her to be negatively impacted by that. Do you think it's tough for a lot of victims of abuse to turn to other means, to turn to friends or family to talk about what's happening, to stop it?
Absolutely. It's one of the toughest situations, because domestic abuse happens behind closed doors, and very often victims are embarrassed that they are dealing with it, for lack of better terms. Very often women call me especially, and they don't want advice. All they want to do is tell their story to someone, because they don't feel comfortable telling family members. And just in telling the story, it's empowering. But this situation, I'm telling you, it is encouraging and empowering other victims to just blow the whistle on the abuser and take his power away.
Even if well, let me ask you this. In a case like this, and I've said this before, our domestic abuse system many times is reactionary. People can get a restraining order, but if something happens, like what happened with Amber right here, you report it and then they do something. There's nothing they can do to stop things from happening a lot of times. So what do you say to women who maybe don't want to put them on blast publicly like this, but they want the abuse to stop? What can they do?
They should call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That is, when you're in a domestic violence situation, the first thing to do is keep yourself safe. Get out of harm's way. After that, make a phone call, talk to a counselor, let them advise you as to what is the best course of action, and then decide who is in your life that you really can trust, that you can tell what's going on. Because domestic violence, you can't do it alone. And one way to beat it is to take the power and control out of the hands of the abuser, and no abuser wants people to know his or her dirty laundry. So at the end of the day, the judicial system, unfortunately, has let down a lot of victims of domestic violence, and when there is a charge, oftentimes it's a slap on the wrist. So a victim's primary goal is not to see the abuser behind jail, it's to be safe and to be alive. And telling someone else takes away that power and control, and it gets them a step closer to freedom from a domestic violence situation.
And Tanya, you mentioned that they need to call your group. Give us that number so people know it in case they need help.
The National Domestic Violence Hotline, the number is 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-SAFE. If you can't call the hotline, every local community has a resource where you can call. And if nothing else is available, call 911. Get out of harm's way, no matter what the situation.
All right, Tanya Young Williams, good to talk to you always. Great advocate.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you, and great advice you're giving there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, folks, on this story, many people feel frustrated by domestic abuse laws, as I just talked about, that don't protect the victim until after the abuse happens. You saw Amber there writing on Facebook to call it out. I just want to pose this warning here. Sometimes it can be dangerous to post things about accusers or people who you perceive or you think have done things to you, or even if they have done things to you on Facebook. Here's the problem in all this. Victims have been sued for defamation, occasionally subject to criminal charges for talking about accused perpetrators. This is what really gets you. Imagine this. You're a victim in a crime like this, like Amber is, but someone like her boyfriend's acquitted, and then they come after you for damages from this defamation. And as sorry as it sounds, if something like that happens to, if something happens to an accuser following a posting, an aggressive prosecutor could actually try to hold the victim criminally liable. Now, I hope none of that ever happens, but it's one of these bottom lines that we talk about with Facebook. Changes need to be made, no matter what, to protect victims of abuse, but posting crimes or things that have happened on Facebook and Twitter before a case is adjudicated could end up causing problems for victims. And we don't want that to happen, of course. Now, an Evening Express viewer has a dilemma. Should she and her fiancé buy a house now or wait until they get married? Money expert Clark Howard has a financial and relationship advice on this one.